We back with another episode of Textually Active, and this week we get into marriage talk.
We want to talk to you guys about the do's and the don'ts of marriages and why some of y'all marriages just don't be working.
Is the household right? And
is your job pushing you to work too hard?
Is them kids the problem?
Tune in right here, right now on Textually Active.
Hey, so I see all of y'all sharing y'all products, y'all businesses on your Instagram stories, on Facebook. Why not take out an ad on your favorite podcast and get more listens and more eyes on your product? Textually Active is now offering ads to businesses. All you have to do is send us an email and we'll get back to you about how you can get your ad right here on Textually Active. Send us an email right now at textuallyactivepod@gmail.com.
Welcome back to another episode of Textually Active.
Textually Active.
This is your weekly dose of navigating the digital age while dealing with friendships, relationships, and all the ships in between. I'm Rez, and I got Meezy with me.
What it do, gang?
EA is on the boards.
We here. Week 2 in our new space. Ain't it amazing?
2 episodes in the vault, tearing it up.
If you ain't been on YouTube, you gotta go see it. It's fire now. We looking amazing in here. You see us looking sexy behind us. Ooh-wee. We here, good. Baby. We here. How you feel?
I feel good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, ups and downs. Life's doing this thing, but I'm good. I'm here. I'm energized for this.
Me too.
Yeah.
This week we got something special for y'all. It's not just an episode with the crew. I know last week we brought y'all someone. This week we got another special guest.
Yeah, last week we did co-parenting. And I think now this week it'll be amazing if we could just touch on just marriage things and whatnot.
So I'm going to tell you how special this next guest is. This guest is so special that they got another guest to introduce the guest.
We ain't never had an introduction for the guest that we got. Without us doing it. So
right.
let's
Or normally we'll just have the guests introduce themselves.
Right.
But this week we have Mordecai introducing our guest. Mordecai is also known as John Scott's brother. If you are a faithful listener to Textually Active, you know who John Scott is.
Absolutely.
So therefore, you know Mr. Mordecai. Mr. Mordecai is going to introduce our guest. So we'll let him get started.
Okay. Hello, listeners. I'm Mordecai Scott here from Savills. John Scott, if you're listening, hopefully you enjoy this segment. I know you will. So it's my pleasure to introduce you all none other than Mr. Nino Perrotta, a native of Mount Vernon, New York. Since 2004, Nino has been a senior special agent with a United States government agency and is now retired. In addition to an accomplished professional career, Nino holds a bachelor's and a master's in political science from Fordham University in New York, New York. He's also a graduate of both the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia, and the United States Secret Service Academy in Laurel, Maryland. Some noteworthy awards bestowed upon Nino include the Special Award for Prosecution of Sinebu Sec in the Southern District of New York and the Prime Lending Scheme in Pescara, Italy, the New York State Law Enforcement Award for Investigation and Prosecution of John Gotti and the Gambino crime family, the FBI Award for Investigation into the European American bank robberies, and Nino has served under Mayor David Dinkins, the first African-American mayor of New York City, in investigating police misconduct within the ranks. Nino is an accomplished hunter who loves the outdoors, and in 2012, sold a successful startup construction company based in Washington, D.C. that he founded in 2004. Without further ado, I give you Mr. Nino Perrotta.
Well, Mordecai, I want to thank you very much for that lovely, lovely introduction, and I am honored, tremendously honored, to be amongst all of you tonight. So I am here to answer and also let everyone here know what it's all about being married and how to live a successful marriage. ...
That's a lot. That is great. That is absolutely fire.
Yes, that's great. All right, Mordecai, thank you for that introduction. Let's get into it with Nino. So, Nino, let's start from the beginning. How long have you been married?
I have been married since 2003.
Okay.
And full disclosure, this is my second marriage. I did get married very young, right after graduating from Fordham University, and that didn't last too long. But Dina, my wife, and I have two lovely children, Antonio and Valentina. Antonio, who's 6'5", and if anyone knows me, I'm 5'7" with heels on, and Valentina's 11 going on 29. So I got my hands full, and she's the alter ego of me. So I'm in big trouble.
So I was wondering, like, so when Mordecai ran off your list of accomplishments, this feels like this first marriage may have ended due to what sounds like a career-driven thing. So I was wondering,
look at you. You are a mind reader.
See, I know the vibe. So I was like trying to figure out, since this is you now in a successful second marriage, what are the things being a career-driven guy that may have ruined the first one?
Well, first of all, for all your listeners, they need to understand that in order for me to keep a successful marriage, I'm doing this interview out of my car because right now my daughter doesn't want to get in the shower and my son didn't have such a hot day at the baseball game. So I decided I need to get out of that frying pan and get into something a little bit cooler. So for all of you out there, when the lights go off in the car, that's because I'm in the car. All right. So step number one, adapt and improvise, and never, ever, ever go against that big wave that's about to come after you. Because as tonight is an example, there was no way I was going to be able to do this interview with the current storm at the residence.
Wow.
But that's life. That's life. That's life. First marriage did end because of the career. I was very much involved up in New York. I was stationed at the 7 World Trade Center with the United States Secret Service. And that was at the height of the John Gotti Jr. investigation, just for all the listeners, for them to be aware. John Gotti was the father. There goes that light, as I told everybody. And the son who had taken over the Gambino crime family, John Gotti Jr., was who I was investigating. And I was really knee deep in that and kind of not paid attention to maintenance and all the other good things that you have to do in a marriage. And so that kind of just withered away.
And so how long was it when you realized that the work was getting in the way of the marriage? Was it too late?
That's a great question. I didn't even realize it until it was way too late. And it didn't happen until many years after the marriage, because you kind of don't realize that you were addicted to the work that you're doing and you weren't really incorporating the other spouse into your life. So you became a whole other person when you left the residence, because you were involved in so many things at work that you didn't pay attention to when you got home, that, oh my God, this person doesn't know anything of what I'm doing and who I'm seeing as far as relationships, friends, and so on and so forth. So it just made it worse as time went on. But I didn't realize until years and years later.
Right. And then when you took that from your first marriage going into your second marriage, I assume that you didn't change jobs immediately. How did you make that pivot so that it worked in your second marriage?
That's funny. No, I knew when I met my wife, Dina, that I needed to make a change. And that's why shortly after we married, I left the Secret Service and went into another government agency. I knew that if I continued to do what I loved passionately, which is to do investigative work the way that I did in the Secret Service, that it was going to have a toll. In addition to the responsibilities that the Secret Service throws on you with all the protection of the presidents and former presidents, you're never home. So I wanted to have a more balanced life at home as opposed to having an all life at work, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you can hear it in his voice when he talks about Dina, like, this is the one that when he figured it out, he figured it out. So like, how old were you when you met Dina?
I was old. That's another reason of success. Man, you guys are hitting it all on point. I can't believe it. I'm going to tell all my brothers out there, young and some that are still old, that are not married, take your time. Take your time. Us guys just need a lot more time to mature. The girls got it straight, but I think us guys just need a little bit more time. So Dina's 10 years my younger.
Yeah.
And with that time comes patience. And with that patience comes the ability to reflect a little bit, like I did tonight. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this at home. I can't do this interview successfully at home. I'm going to jump in the car and find where the reception was going to be. And that's how I'm going to adapt. I'm not going to get into an argument. I'm not going to scream at the kids. I'm just going to pop out, do the interview, and come back home with a big smile on my face.
That's right.
Minus the guy that's drag racing right down the street if you didn't hear it.
That's right. So how did you get your groove back after your divorce? The last person that we had on the episode, Billy, he said that he took a year off after his divorce to get his groove back. Did you do something of the sorts to get your groove back after being divorced? Because I know it's not a good feeling ending a marriage.
My groove got in real good. I took 7 years until I got serious with somebody.
Right.
And it started with me getting transferred overseas with the United States Secret Service and ending up, believe it or not, getting my life threatened in Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria, on an investigation I was doing there. So once all of that fire was put out, all those desires that I had, I then got transferred to Washington. And then at that point, 7 years after I got divorced, I knew that if I had met someone that I was going to settle down with. And believe it or not, I fell in love with her mom and dad first. Wow. But I got a story to tell you both about Dina and I with success. Dina doesn't take me serious at all, which is hilarious. One day, her sister, I got to tell you both this. One day, her sister says to me, you know what I figured out? I said, what? I think you're the real Ray Donovan. I go, what? I think you're the real, I think that's who you are. I said, who's Ray Donovan? Because I didn't know who the hell Ray Donovan is. If you talk to Dina, she goes, oh, he's just a has-been, which to me is great. She doesn't take anything serious. In fact, I got a book out. She didn't even read it, and it's dedicated to the kids. And you know what? I'm very lucky that she didn't. So the reason I say that to you is that that balance where someone doesn't gives you the respect that you need, but also you're just not that serious about, what is a perfect man and what is a perfect woman, because none of us are perfect, right? Nice. So she just accepts me who I am, and I accept her for who she is, and that makes the marriage very, very successful, in my opinion, at least.
What's the title of the book?
Dual Mission.
Okay. Dual Mission.
Yeah, Dual Mission. And it's got all my escapades in there. That's why I'm glad Dina didn't read it.
So when you was talking, you were saying about we as people aren't perfect and it makes a thing. So when during this 7 years and you said you thought if I found somebody, what were you looking for this second time around?
The 7 years was just to quell that fire, that desire to do these investigations, to be the best at what I was doing, to reach the highest of my plateau at work professionally, right? When I got there, right, I said, man, it's so lonely being up on the top by yourself. We're all going to get old one day, and you're going to want somebody to just talk to and bounce ideas off of, right? Yeah. And like I said, who doesn't take you all that serious so that you can be a little, funny or, not perfect and you run with, you just go with the flow. Well, so when those 7 years were up and I'm in Washington, D.C., I wasn't really looking for it. It just came. And when it did, I felt right. I knew at that point, I guess at that time I was 36. I knew at that time that was the right time for me to start now being into a serious relationship. And again, maturity was a key factor because I wasn't mature. You think you're so invincible and you can sleep a couple hours and go back to work and go out partying all night and then, hanging out with this girl or this guy and friends. And then next thing you know, you're eating at 3 a.m. and you still got that same 30-inch waist or maybe 29-inch waist. Heck, that goes out the window when you hit your 40s. Then, as I am now, I'll be 55 in July. So, things change.
Said the 40s. So that at 31, that's gone for me. This about a 40 waist now.
I'm with you. Okay, and we're good. It's all good. Don't worry.
Well, Drake said don't date in your 20s. He said don't get married in your 20s. He said, where's the fun in that? So your advice, Nino, is it to date in your 30s? Because it sounds like you met Dina in your 30s and things have been moving smoothly since then. Do you think 30s is a good age to meet somebody?
Absolutely. I think it surely is. I think that you as a person start to really know who you are. You are being more realistic about yourself, and you're being more honest with yourself. And you then realize that, oh my God, when I cut, I do bleed. I'm not Superman or Superwoman, you become more sophisticated in so many ways, mature. It's like that, the saying, as wine gets older, it gets better. Well, I think the same thing with, people. As they get a little older, they get a little bit more matured and more relaxed in their own skin, right? And we are all chasing that carrot to get successful. Well, hopefully by the mid 30s or early 30s, you are where you need to be in that respect. And I think that all helps out, because if you're confident with who you are, you're going to be confident with the person you want to be with.
That's perfect.
Boy, this is getting serious. Oh my God.
Look, it's crazy, right? You see how
Yes, I'm still in the car. For all your listeners, I'm doing this interview in the car to keep the family and the familia, as they say in Italian, in peace, because they're fighting at home right now, let me tell you.
That's crazy. So I was, you talk about this, and it's interesting to hear you talk about this, because it shows that, like, as you got older, you matured and you understood this thing. So with that, like, the relationship obviously started out first, and you, as a older gentleman, you said you was 10 years older than Dina. Yep. There was a decision that you guys made to have children. Like,
That's right.
And these are y'all first, like, these are both y'all first two each?
Yeah, let me tell you, I lived in a dollhouse in Old Town Alexandria, literally a dollhouse, because in the Secret Service, you're always traveling. I never forget, I bought this house in Old Town Alexandria. You got to the kitchen as soon as you open that front door. And when you got to the kitchen, you make one step and you're upstairs to the second floor where your bedroom's at. So I had no interest, A, in getting remarried, and B, to have children. But when I met Dina's parents, which is a very important underlined piece to this equation, important, my father was an Italian guy that used to say like this: listen, when you go buy a cow, a young calf, you got to go look at the mother, right? Well, if the mother, you don't like the mother, you're not going to like the calf. So I met Dina's mom. I fell in love, right? And by the way, nothing to do with being overweight with the calf. It's just an example of my poor father. That's what he knew, and that's what he said, right? But the point that I'm making is, and I got to tell you a story about that. How not to get X-rated, but my dad's 84 years old. He's still having sex with mom.
Yeah. Yeah,
84.
That's the goal now. My grandfather is in his 60s, and his
having sex. I love it.
His thing is to say,
It don't stop working.
His favorite thing to say is, "I got to keep this last little $40 that I got on me just in case."
I love it. I love it.
It's selling it for $40.
That's
$40
right.
is a nice price.
but the story on that, she's going to kill me, my sister. So my mom is, got a little bit of dementia, and my sister, who's like a nun. Okay, she lives in Italy. She's like a nun, and she says to me, "I'm worried about them falling. I'm worried about something happening." She puts these cameras up in the house. She don't tell my father or mother. She called me one day. She goes, "You're not going to believe it." She goes, "I am devastated." I go, "What?" "Well, they were having sex." I said, "God bless them."
Yeah.
I said, "What are you doing if you're worried about that?" So my point being, that's how we found out that Dad was still having sex. Don't tell my dad, though. Hopefully he's not subscribing to this program on a full-time basis. He may not hear this interview, but it's true. That's how we found out. And I'm like, you know what? Holy mackerel, they really love each other. Yeah. Think about it, guys. He's 84, right? Yeah. Mom is losing her mind, but he still loves her. Yeah. And he's passionately in love with this woman, having, making love to my mom. To me, what better marriage?
Yeah.
Tell me what's better than that?
That's
and you all know dementia. Well, let's not even get into that right now. That's a sad topic, right? My mom looked like she still looks like Sophia Loren. Not a wrinkle, but she doesn't remember my name.
Yeah.
Today, she does not remember my name. But my dad, patiently, sometimes not, but patiently, he's making love to that woman. I think it's amazing. Talk about love.
Yeah.
Talk about love.
Story.
Talk about relationships, what you want to talk about.
Because I'm pretty sure they've been married probably a long time now. Like,
well, I'm going to be 55, so 56 years they've been married.
Yeah, that's a long time.
that seems so far away, bro.
Yeah.
So,
I'm thinking I'm going to have at least 4 marriages between that time. No, I'm joking.
so when you went to
Dina, don't listen. Dina, please. I love you, honey.
when
Mamma
you went
mia,
to
I'm gonna
meet
get it.
Dina's mom, what made you fall in love with her?
She was just so nice and so interested in about everything we were talking about. And she was very accommodating, but just a very good-hearted person. And, you know, when I met her and then I met Dino. So remember, Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. Well, it's Nino, Dina, and Dino, just like the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. But the point that I'm saying is when I met him, he was another very, very happy man. Took a lot of risks in life, you know, as an immigrant, was very involved with rebuilding the District of Columbia back in 40 years ago. So he's been in Washington, D.C., and has gone through one administration after another and knows D.C. like the back of his hand. And I got to tell you, when I met the two of them and the way that they were about life, you know, not everything was perfect. They made it happen. And so when I saw that, I realized at that point that these two people have wonderful children, because how they are, they've got to have beautiful kids. And sure enough, I met Dina, and you know, the first date, she didn't say a word to me, and I couldn't wait to get her home. And then I said to myself after the date, I'm like, you know what? She's not easy. I like that.
Yeah.
She's going to be a challenge. I like that.
Right.
And she's been a challenge ever since.
Is Dina's family's Italian too, right?
Yes. Padula is the last name.
So from what I know about Italians, family is very important. It's very big. So like, what are these, when you're creating your own family, now that you've met Dina, you've met her family, like what are these values that you want to pass down, or the things that live to make this household work?
Well, hard work.
Yeah.
Work hard at whatever you do, and love people. Doesn't matter if you don't know them, you still love them. You don't have to be in love with all of them.
Yeah.
But love people. And when you take that approach with people, everyone is interesting in their own way. And to me, I think that is an important ingredient. Yeah, but really with Valentina and Antonio, what I like about them is that they are, both of them in their own different ways, okay? Both of them are very, very, very open with their friends, and they're very honest with their friends. There's a level of trust amongst them. Even though Valentina's 11, I see how she interacts with her girlfriends, you know, because she plays soccer, and I love it. And they all want to come to my house because I make the best pasta.
So
Yeah,
now
so
that asks me a question, because growing up with the Italian pops, this Italian pops isn't no joke. Where did you get this understanding of these are how these kids are? Where does that come from?
You know what? From growing up with a hard ass father.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was, let me tell you, he was an immigrant, had a deli in Mount Vernon. I never did anything other than school and work. In fact, kids would make fun of me because they would smell the cheese, the provolone cheese, because I'd have to go to work before I go to school. And so, you know what I said? You know, this shit doesn't work. I mean, it worked for me, but I don't want my kids. So, you know, I want them to be, you know, love and have the choices. But you know who taught me this more than anybody else? My wife.
Wow.
Because my wife was raised completely different than me. They had a very open home policy, very, very creative and open-minded. And you know what? It opened my mind. Because I'll tell you, when you're raised a certain way, you know, there was the belt. You know, if you didn't do what you had to do, that belt came off the hip, right?
Yeah, sure did.
That shit Dina never saw that belt at home. And that balance helped us create the children that we do. So it's a little bit of a yin yang. Like I said, she never read the book. She don't give a shit about the book.
She don't know
what
nothing
she cares
about it.
She cares about what I do today with her and the children.
Yeah.
And you know what? I got to give it to her.
So I have to ask you a question. Have you seen Euphoria on HBO Max?
No, but you want me to?
No. So well, you can watch it. But right now, that's like my impression of what it is to raise teenagers right now. The teenagers are wild. They're doing all these things. They got the internet. They got social media. They got the peer pressure from their friends.
Yep.
So in reality, what is it like raising a teenager in such a digital age? Like, how do you keep them so like tuned into reality? Because it's so easy for them to slip away, and Instagram is life. Snapchat is life.
Bingo. Antonio came to me and he's talking to me tonight about, look, all these people are sending me messages, and Dad's a little bit of pressure. I say, wait a minute. Oh, this is the balance, right? Great question, but this is the balance. Go back to old school. Dad, what does that mean? Take that phone, shut it off, 48 hours, 24 hours, whatever. Forget about it, okay? Forget about it. Not like Goodfellas forget about it, but forget about it, all right? And go back to the basics. What does that mean, Dad? The basics is, at the end of the day, those are just words. And the more you read, the more you're going to get anxieties because this guy says this and this girl says that. Just go out, go to the movies, or go and do something completely different than what you're doing now, which is all sports. But stay off the social media because it will eat you alive.
Facts.
Look, I'm going to be straight with all of you. 2018, I had my rear end blown to smithereens. Let me tell you why. Because I was protecting executive in the government. I was on a security detail for a very controversial cabinet member of the White House. What people don't realize is I'm not political. I'm a government employee at the time. I protected Democrats and Republicans, but just follow me on this. They blew me up so bad that my sister read the articles and saw me on the news in Italy, right? You know how I survived? No Instagram, no Snapchat.
You never seen it. You
no
never
this,
knew it.
no that, no this and that. I actually bought a couple of newspapers because I was on the front page. How many times are you going to be on the front page of the New York Times? Even though to me it was like I was indicted like a gangster, but that's okay. I mean, to me that was like getting a trophy, right? Being on the front page of the New York Times. There's the president, and then there's you. Right. Amazing. By the way, the articles were not true, but at the time it was necessary then for those that were writing to create a certain narrative. You know how I looked at it? Hey, all publicity is good publicity, and this too shall pass. Man. Remember those words? And this too shall pass. So what I said to my son, don't worry about what you're reading in the social media. This is a 17-year-old young man, and he's, stressed about what's going on. I said, don't worry about it. Shut it off. So how do I handle it? I try to balance. I'm the one that says, go back. Let's go bake. Let's go make a cake. Let's go make some food. Stay out of the social media. Do something physical. Go outside and play ball.
Go touch some grass.
Yes. Go touch some grass. Amen.
Yeah, so I think that is one of the biggest challenges, or something that even adults struggle with too nowadays. Yeah. It's not just the children, it's adults that don't know how to disconnect from that digital piece, and it eats them alive. And people running around with anxiety, don't know how to focus on one thing, can't put their phone down, and it's because they don't know how to connect back to the old days and just disconnect their phone. But you went very viral if you were on the cover of a newspaper. New
York Times is the most viral you can get.
Yeah, you went viral.
Let me tell you, we don't have enough time to talk about it, but the point being, really, at the end of the day, you just gotta see. Not everybody has the inner strength, right? So imagine if you don't have all that inner strength, and then you get pushed to the brink where you read all this and you take it literally to be the truth. It isn't the truth. It's just words, right? And I'm not a very religious person, but sticks and stones, they may break your bones, right? But words. What are words going to do? Yeah. Words aren't going to hurt you. You're going to make them hurt. Well, you know what the best way to words? Just shut it off. Yeah. And, so at the end of the day, I love these questions. I love what you're asking. and it is important. So in the relationship, getting full circle, Dina having her positive strengths and I have mine, some of that old school stuff, even though I hated it as a kid, believe it or not, some of those old school style things that how parents were parents actually are very beneficial.
That's
and
right.
What does that mean? Go out and get your skateboard. I know that's dated, right? And go play outside.
Right.
Go get your knees scratched.
Yeah.
Don't worry about sitting on your bed with that phone or that laptop or whatever else you want to use, or notepad.
Right. So do you guys have a rule when you wake up? Do you keep your phones off, or do you wake up and have a rule not to touch your phones? What kind of things do you do?
No,
what kind
we
of
don't
boundaries do you set with your phones in your marriage?
The phones, I'm not a big phone. I'm not addicted to the phone. What Dina's very good with the kids is they are 100% in sports, involved with physical stuff, right?
Yeah. So
they're out there playing. So there's a limited time that they could be on the phone. But when at nighttime, she gets really tired really quick. I'm the police at night, not the real police but at nighttime, okay, shut it down. Okay, shut it down.
Yeah.
Time to go to bed. Because they'll be up all night on those things. You know what I mean? And so that's how we have our little balance. She, during the day, as kids, Antonia was always doing something, whether it was arts, whether it was sports, whether it was some sort of friend's house to go play with friends and be on a bicycle or something other than computers.
Yeah.
Those kids always had that balance with mom. And then when it came to, schoolwork and time off the phone, there was, 9:30, bye-bye, put the phone away, give it to daddy. We're going to put it in the charger, off to the races. So they get good sleep, because that's important, right? When you're at dinner, when we're having dinner, even though you can't sit all at the table at the same time, because I'm the cook, I'm the little Chef Boyardee in the house, That's why I got a few extra pounds. I'm cooking my wife thinks I'm a chef. She goes, what are you making tonight? Well, what do you want, darling? Yeah. Then I got Valentina telling me I'm a vegan now. Today she's a vegan. Tomorrow she's not. I got to deal with that. Then I got the carnivore that eats everything, my son. So I'm making all kinds of meals all day and night. I'm in that kitchen more than anywhere else. I'm not going to kid you. But when they're there, there's no phone. You got to talk to daddy.
It feels like this household is very balanced, because
trying, not easy.
It's
trying.
not. I could tell, because you say you the nighttime guy, you the chef. There's no no roles
No.
Yeah.
No, if the laundry isn't done, I'll throw it in. She'll do it. If there's not we pick up where the other one drops off, because Dina works.
Yeah.
She's a teacher, right? Special ed in Montgomery County, Maryland.
Shout out to her.
By the time she gets done with that, she's fried, right? And then she's rolling with the kids to the sports. So she's at sports. I'll do the cleaning and I'll do the cooking. That's how we balance off, because I enjoy that as well. She really enjoys the sports, right? So that's how we do it.
That's important.
A lot of people dating these days get caught up in trying to set boundaries and set standards for relationships that they're not even in.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Can I say bullshit? People,
am I allowed to say bullshit? That's 4 times I said.
You can say bullshit.
You can say bullshit here.
Okay, that's bullshit, by the way. Rules and boundaries. That right there, that's a disaster. Recipe for disaster.
They're like, I don't want to cook, or I don't want to clean, or I want somebody that's going to cook and clean all the time.
My husband pays all my bills.
Yeah, that's the age that we're in, where people are making a list of the things that they want before they even meet a person. Right. And I feel like it gets a lot of people caught up in their 30s. You end up alone because you have this long list of things, and people aren't checking boxes because your list is 100 things that you're not going to do instead of a list of things that you're willing to compromise on.
It's all unrealistic. Let me tell you, all this with the lips and with the stomach, with the pull and pull tip. Who you are is who you are. If there's somebody out there for you, they're going to love you for what you look like and who you are. And when you get past that, because you look at what I see with my daughter doing this, all that TikTok stuff. I said, what in the world is this girl doing? I said to my wife, hey, come over here. Look at this. Look in the bathroom. She's staring at the mirror and doing all this crazy, crazy stuff, right? And I said to my wife, look at the girl that she's watching is perfect.
Right.
Who's perfect?
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect, but the girl is perfect. And my daughter is looking at a perfect girl. And what do you think she's thinking? I got to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to be who you are and love yourself first so you can love others, right?
Yeah, that's
right.
fire. That's
so this whole thing with the checklist, forget it. Forget it. Remember, no matter how gorgeous you are, no matter how good looking you are, we all got to use the bathroom, as my father said, the bathroom. And it doesn't smell good, the bathroom, right? Get it?
Never.
So get my point. Simple thing, funny thing, but it's the truth.
Absolutely.
I was wondering, you talked about you got that carnival, that big 17-year-old baseball player roaming around those streets out there. How do you navigate that as a dad? Like, I know the girlies want that baseball player.
I'll tell you right now, they got the daddy who's a Secret Service agent. I go in that car, I check it out. I inspect it like Clouseau, right? I get in that car the other day. Hold on, the light went out. I got to say this with the lights on. I go in that car the other day, I inspect. I'm looking at this stupid thing hanging from the mirror. You know how they say in Maryland, they got some rules. I guess you can't put stuff on your mirror. Back in the day, I had 2 dices, big red with white, dices. Like I was a gambler. Now you can't do that stuff. Anyway, I'm looking at this car. All of a sudden, I go in the console, and there's a box of condoms in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, baby Jesus. My wife doesn't know. I hope she doesn't listen to this episode. So I took him aside. Yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? He goes, nothing. I said, what do you mean nothing? I said, nothing. I said, nothing meaning nothing, or nothing like you don't want me to talk to you about what I saw in the car. He goes, oh, Dad. I go, listen, whatever you do, you got to be safe. And number 1, and number 2, remember, everything has to be mutual. In other words, you got to have a clear message that the 2 of you want to do what you're doing because you don't want to have any headaches and you want to be respectful. I said, but remember, that's a responsibility. Now you're moving into another zone. I mean, I was devastated because this is my baby.
Yeah.
But this 17-year-old, I mean, think about this: 6'5", 240 something pounds.
They own him.
You could put a beer on his butt. You could sit a beer on his butt.
They own him out here.
They own him. He had a mother ask him. She said to him, "Don't you have a girlfriend? You're such a stud." I said to myself, I didn't tell him this. I go, "Oh my God, this poor kid's gonna. Oh my God, he doesn't know where he is." But my point to you is, getting back to what we were raising, the issues that we're raising, it's hard. You got to balance these things, these surprises that come, the surprises that, and he's 17-year-old. He's still coming to me like a baby sometimes with questions, right? Because he's still young. Yeah. He hasn't lived life yet. So it's a balance. It's a very, very delicate balance.
Is that conversation sort of, well, not yet, but that conversation goes the same way for the daughter eventually, I assume.
Absolutely. Yes. I hope to God a little bit later, but yes, absolutely. And see, you asked this question, which is great. You remember what we talked about earlier about, nobody has roles and usually, who knows how that's going to take its course? Will there be a little bit more mom involved in that one? Yeah. Or, we don't plan it, Dina and I, we didn't stage it and put it on a checklist, how we're going to deal with our daughter and our son. We just set the tone about being respectful, about responsibility, about understanding that in life, there are consequences if you don't, think with this head, right? Yeah. There are consequences, right? Now, but here's the beauty of all consequences. All things shall pass.
Oh, that's
no matter how bad, right? No matter how bad you think they are. So don't look at something and not say to yourself, oh, maybe I need to have a conversation. Don't take it to the extreme and think it's all over because you might have a mistake. So we're open to that, my wife and I, in being able to be like a parachute where we help our kids during these challenges when they go through life. But you hope that you give them enough up front that they minimize the consequences or the mistakes that may come with some of the bad decisions, right? That they make. They're going to make bad decisions. Yeah. I mean, that's inevitable, right? That's going to happen.
That's great advice, yo.
Yeah. So what advice do you have to the parents that are raising teenagers now?
I think the best advice I give parents is something that they don't want to hear. Do and act the same way that you tell your children to do. How about that one? Huh?
That one,
Yeah.
that one gonna hurt a little bit.
It'll hurt a little bit, huh? You like that one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
gonna hurt a little bit.
If you can't do what you're preaching, don't preach it. Because these kids, they're smart, and treating them as if they're not, that's the number one mistake you're going to make in life. So, you know what? Dad doesn't know baseball. Dad doesn't pretend to be knowledge of baseball, as an example, just a simple one. I don't go out there and, sometimes you'll see parents, screaming on the sidelines. Their kids are playing a sport. They're 11, 12 years old, and the parents think they're in the Olympics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're making more of a damage on the sideline than the kids could ever make on the field. But the parents, they can't control themselves, but yet they want to tell the kids how they need to act. Well, did you see what you just did? You look like a buffoon over there.
That's crazy.
Right?
That's great advice. Yo.
So do what you tell your children, exactly the same thing that you're going to be able to do yourself, and that will work the best.
You got to lead by example.
Amen.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and take a break and come back to this conversation with our final thoughts.
Great.
That was fine.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good.
Wow.
Can we talk?
Yeah.
How we doing?
We're
How's
doing
that going?
good.
Where we at on time?
40 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I guess the last question we can do, Nino, are marriage do's and don'ts. That was one thing that we didn't really touch on.
Okay.
Listing it out.
Just a list of do's and don'ts that you could give to our listeners. Like, what are some things
Okay.
that do work and some things that don't work?
Yep. Okay.
All right. So we're to come back in and give me a second. In 3, 2.
All right. So before we get out of here, let's get into something for our final thoughts. Nino, I wanted to ask you about some marriage do's and don'ts. What are some things that do work in marriage and some things that don't work
Especially
in marriage?
because there's this narrative that's going around about if you do this ABC, you can keep your woman happy, and do this is how you keep a man. So I'm like, for somebody who is experienced at this, because you've got one working and you got one that's failed, what are some of the do's and the don'ts?
Oh my God, that is, I think, a great way to end. Well, so I have a private investigative firm, as you both all know. I think it was mentioned, if it wasn't, and a lot of the calls that I get are, issues where people have had affairs, right?
Oh.
And so I get the inside baseball on a lot of the things that people have issues, right? So one of the things is the most important thing is being a control freak. Let me tell you, that never, ever will be a success story for anybody. Let's say, using a very, very simple example, let's say you're a very neat person, right? And let's say your spouse isn't, okay? You are not going to change the other person. And they are not going to change your ass, okay?
Right.
So be neat in your personal space. So if you got a closet, that's where you're neat, okay? If let's just say common area where maybe there's a lot of clothes on the floor, well, you know what? Accept it. You love this person, right? Because you ain't going to change them. Adapt and improvise.
Yeah.
Always look to how to help the other person, and they will see that as a tremendous level of love, as opposed to trying to change them. Well, we're going to try to, what do you need to change? What do you need to change? What do you need to change? Screw the changing.
Yeah.
This is who this person is, right? You work within those parameters. A lot of people will tell me, I just wanted to talk. Communication. Communication is very important. And you think that because you're talking, that's communicating. Listening is the bigger communication.
Facts.
Yeah.
Less of this and more of the ears listening. Less of the mouth talking and more of the ears.
What they say,
So,
God gave you 2 ears for a reason.
that's right.
2 ears,
That's
one
right.
mouth.
That's right. And then I think another very, very important thing is, I leave it with this, and I say this all the time to all of my clients, and that is, folks, marriage is a business. I hate to say this. I hope you don't take offense to it. Yes, the religious part is the religious part, but after all those vows are said and those church bells stop ringing, okay, if you look at your marriage just like a business, you have to constantly work at it. You have to constantly improve it. You have to constantly change what's on the menu, and you have to constantly modernize. If you don't do all of that, your business is going to fail. Right. And that is the same as a marriage. And let me tell you, I work with folks, poor and rich. When it comes to having a problem that they've had an affair and they've got to fix the problem because either the lover isn't letting go or the husband or wife has gone crazy, it all boils down to those key ingredients. They have abandoned the business. They have left it in a very old state. Nothing has been modernized. Communication is next to nil. And that's what fails in these marriages. Absolutely. I'm not going to say that any of them are perfect. You have to constantly work at it.
Right.
Constantly.
Absolutely.
Well, Nino, we want to thank you for your
this is fire. This is fire.
Thank you.
I like this guy.
Everything.
I like this guy.
Yeah, you've been dropping gems all episode.
I love it. I love it. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm honored. I'm very much honored. I want you all to know that.
We appreciate having you today. This is very inspiring. Like, I love to have him back and dig deep into some of them CIAs and special force stories.
Yeah, so we got to get to that story about how you almost lost your life across the country.
Yeah,
would love to do that.
The world.
I would love to do that.
Well, can you tell our listeners where they can find your book or where they can find out more information about you?
What you got going on, man?
Amazon. You can find that book, Dual Mission, on Amazon. But I would be honored to come back and speak more about some of these things that we talked about, especially, police misconduct and corruption in the New York City Police Department, what we tried to fix back in the early 90s. Yes. How's that? With Mayor Dinkins. How's that?
That would be great.
All right.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see you next time. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the show in just a moment.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
You need promotion and visibility for your product? Why not do it right here on Textually Active? It's a space right here that you can add to. If you got a podcast, a book club, a vinyl, a candle set, whatever it is you do, we might need some lashes. You can promote your product right here on Textually Active. Be sure to click the link wherever you're listening to this to, and you can get more information there. Promote your stuff right here with Textually Active.
All right, so Nino was a lot of fun.
That was fire. I like that guy.
He really had a lot of great information about dating. And some first Italian.
Just like fun, like
right,
being.
Let's just get to it. First Italian guy we've had on the show.
Not just a little bit, but he started telling when Mordecai ran down that list of accomplishments. I'm like, boy, we finna talk to the face.
No, when Mordecai came on with that suit on, I was like, dang, I'm underdressed like a mug.
We talked to the feds today. I got a little nervous. I had to make sure I had no priors.
Right.
Yeah.
He's Secret Service for real.
Yeah, my man was out here defending somebody wild. We should have asked who it was he was out there watching, who he on the front page with.
He said he was cutting up, but he still ordered. He said he still got the magazine because he went viral.
He said I needed that.
That's like you pinning the tweet where you getting dragged to your pin tweet.
Fam said he had to get that one. That's probably on the wall somewhere at the crib.
No, seriously.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think these conversations are important though. Like these are this is a different culture from us. You know what I'm saying? This is a culture where it's kind of sort of the same. Him telling us his dad was a hard ass.
Yeah.
And a lot of black fathers are the same hard ass. So it's it's just like a generation thing. Like this older generation was just hard asses.
I think that's a good mixture. Coming from a hard parent and then having a soft parent and putting the two together makes for a good
household.
Yeah.
A household that's
a
great.
good household. And I think that's how his household comes down because it's not all that hardness.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Nino learned from his household this doesn't work.
Yeah.
and
He
staying from his
said
mom.
that belt used to come out crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel a little trigger when he said that.
He said off the hip. I was like, God.
Felt that.
Yo,
Had that thing like Pootie Tang.
Yeah, when I heard her off the hip, I was like,
But yeah, I mean that was an amazing conversation, and he was a great guest. We need to have him back for some of them stories. We need to hear what the streets on. We need to know what the streets was like out here.
Yeah,
fam sound like he was out here. Yeah, he sounded like he was out here doing some nasty times
in the 80s and the 90s.
They went and got John Gotti Jr. Like I seen Sopranos. I ain't want to bring that up doing here because that's my only real interpretation of real Italians. But hey, that shit was lit.
Yeah, great episode.
We see if we can get us some pasta too. He said he was cooking. You know me, I'm always here for a meal.
I'm here for a meal as well. So while we're here, let's get into some tunes. Let's get into the jam of the week. What we got?
You are now tuned in to WMEZ.
You are now textually active.
It's all in the playlist, baby.
You know the vibes.
It's all in the playlist. You got to get yourself a good playlist and just rock out.
Yeah.
And that's what we got right there. Before we get into our memes, do you have a meme?
I got one of this week. Last week, I was rough. It was rough out here last week, but I got one this week.
What you got for your meme?
I just wanted to say when I was in ISS, I knew if I ever had to do a real prison sentence, I just had to kill myself. Cause ain't no way I'm gonna be bored for years. So I'm gonna do something that's worthy of the death penalty. Like I can't just be sitting in this room by myself. Like that's crazy. ISS was nuts.
that's dark.
It was.
ISS was 8 hours of just like, why am I here?
Sit in the classroom. They let us read books. You know what kind of books I had.
Like once you get done with all your work that needed to be done that day, it's pretty much boring.
You know what kind of books I had? Urban books.
You look like
Some urban
you
books.
was out here reading Quan Mills for sure.
Yeah, Quan Mills.
the pastor got the stripper pregnant. My baby daddy is now pregnant. Like, well, how does this work?
My baby daddy's milkman's nigga.
I was getting straight to it right
You
in
was probably in there writing them shits. Hey, it's a whole class of girls that was in school, high school, writing them nasty books.
How'd you know I used to write?
It's a whole generation of y'all reading Zane and thinking y'all can do the same thing.
And think we could write.
Yeah.
The storyline just messed up.
Just having ink all over.
Shout out to everybody that used to read my stories in high school. I think I wrote like 2.
I believe it.
It was like, when the next one coming out?
I believe it. Boy, Tyler Perry will be proud.
She was publicated.
She was out here serving the streets. These novels.
I tried everything. I was a writer before.
That hard.
Yo, DM me if you remember the stories I used to write. Y'all remember them.
Ripping perforated notebook paper out perfect, passing that shit around. Oh, shit.
Filling up the composition book.
And passing it around to the streets.
Passing the book around.
That's crazy.
For the streets to read.
That's crazy.
It was interesting.
Hey, bro, you always been creative. What's up with you?
Like your inner child is like, let me out.
Yeah, like forever.
Yep.
It's like, what else can I do, bro? Like,
all right, y'all. My meme is adult friendships really is just shooting off texts like, yes, hello, I'm not dead. Yet, can I still arrange to see you in 4 to 6 weeks?
Fire.
I'm not dead yet. Can I arrange to see you in 4 to 6 weeks?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's it. You just hit them with a little.
I just gotta hit you up. Yo, you good?
Yeah.
Can I see you in like 2 to 6 weeks? Like, what are you doing?
Last night I was even thinking about that. Like, maybe who haven't I spoken to in a while? Maybe I should get this text off.
And how do I plan to see them?
Yeah.
Because after a while, like, it's hard to see your friends.
Every time.
You gotta plan.
Yeah. Niggas is life and is life.
They be having stuff to do.
Yeah.
But this has been another episode of Textually Active, man. Thank y'all for tuning in to this episode. We drop episodes every Tuesday. We'll be back next Tuesday. If you like what you heard,
hit the socials. You know, we out here: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We doing it all.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Textually active.